Hello. Good evening.
Hello,
Hello.
good evening.
Good evening. Except I can't hear Dom.
Hello, good evening.
Oh, yes, I can. Good evening.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 118. Hello, everybody. Sit, talk, and hobby.
118, you say?
So, those who are new to this or watching it back, basically, we sit here for an hour, we do some hobby, and encourage you to do exactly the same. So, make sure you have got some hobby with you, maybe a drink. Doesn't have to be alcoholic, it can be a cup of tea or
Or good
mineral
old-fashioned
water.
water.
Yeah, there we go. There you go. It wasn't even scripted. There we go.
I've got another glass
So,
here now, Jack.
what hobby's Tom working on tonight?
Well, as part of the challenge that we announced the other week, I'm starting on this. This is a Reaver Titan. This will be a loyalist one. Dom loves loyalist ones.
Yep.
And
They
this
make
is
the best noises when they explode.
and this will be the last image you see of it before I do my reveal next month. I will probably be painting it, but I may not show it on camera just so it is a completely new surprise. But this is started. There we go. There we go. What about yourself, Dom?
I am painting some word bearers. So I had these guys sitting around. Here we go. There's some from here. A couple more here. I had sitting around for ages. I've slowly been doing paint on, chucking paint on them. So this guy's almost finished. It's one of the chosen from the old Dark Vengeance kit.
It's cool, that one.
Yeah, like I said, a nice little character model kind of in there. Anyway, yeah, so they've been sitting around, and I was like, I'll paint some up because we had that event that I'm sure we'll get into at some point on the stream tonight. We had an event, and part of it, I was thinking maybe I'd do a couple of bolter squads of Chaos Space Marines. But I went with more majority of combat Marines rather than shooting Marines. So, but I'm like, well, might as well. All good stuff.
Went
Can
on
never have enough
Calf.
Marines. Yeah, exactly. Win on Calf. What about people in the chat? What are you guys working on tonight?
And good evening, Captain Jack. Good to have you with us. Let's pop this chat out so I can read it a bit. And hello, Azrafael, as well. Thank you for coming along. Always good to see some familiar faces.
Indeed, it is.
Ooh. And this is, I think this is a fourth stream in a row, Dom. I don't want to get excited about anything, but just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah. Well done, us.
It's almost like we scheduled it and kept it.
Yeah. So, Azrael, Jack, what are you guys working on tonight? Any good hobby stuff?
Yes, while the people are having a quick thing about that, obviously, we we had a little chat about Games Workshop pre-ordering last week, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we were sort of saying a few things. It turns out they were keeping an eye on it. So for those who don't know, on Wednesday there's going to be another a kind of a resale of the End of Death Book 3, the special edition one, because they've recouped a lot of the copies that were multi-bought by people that like to sell them for high prices on eBay. So if you haven't got one and you haven't heard that news, keep an eye out on Wednesday. But yeah, I'm sure everyone must have heard that by now. It's pretty well covered, I think, on their various websites. So, but yeah, well done. There you go. That's
very cool stuff. Well done, Games Workshop.
Yes, exactly. Captain. So, as of there's nothing hobby related. Currently dipping my toes into Escape from Tarkov. Oh, okay. Some good quality gaming going there. Nice. It's a bit of a brutal game, is it? I haven't played that on myself. And then Captain Jack is painting Lamenters, Jump Captain, and a whirlwind for the competition. That is what I like to hear.
Oh, nice. Well done, Captain Jack.
Not only is he painting a vehicle, but a Lamenter's vehicle, and one that is not regularly I suppose, seen that much. Well, I think you saw a couple at the weekend.
Yeah, I saw a whirlwind at the weekend. I played against one. And very nice it was too, actually, to be honest. It was, yeah, you don't see many of them.
No.
And yeah, I was quite impressed. I was like, oh, this is quite cool. Quite a nice vehicle. And did see Vicky in the chat. Vicky, what are you working on tonight?
Well, I know she had quite a lot on her desk, but hopefully she'll elaborate. Definitely saw a few things entering the spray box this week, Vicky.
The spray box.
Yeah. Well, you know, when you're top of flat, you know, you've got to improvise a little bit.
Yep.
Can't keep nipping outside to the street to spray your models. No. But yeah, so as Dawn was alluding to, we attended a little tournament over the weekend, didn't we?
We did indeed. We did indeed, Tom. What's this one called? It was
South Coast RTT.
Yeah.
I want to say. That's what I want to say. I think it was that. There's a first-time tournament runner, I think, as well for this particular one. He hadn't run one before this. It's the first one of its by that person here, anyway.
Well, I think he's done a few before. First one in Bexhill by himself, though. So yeah, that was always good. Yeah, it was very well run. There was 32 players, I believe.
Correct. It was 16 tables worth, if I remember correctly. I think. And it was standard format. It was pretty good. So
it was.
And Dom didn't do too bad either.
Well, I think overall, Tom, it wasn't bad for either of us.
No.
But Tom, do you want to go into what you took and who you played against?
Oh yes, I can do that. So
and also the outcomes of the games as well.
No, I was going to leave that. I was going to leave that.
Imagination.
It's up to people's imagination because it's more fun that way and less embarrassing. No. I think I went through my list last week, but yeah, I'll go a quick because I think we both didn't last week, but I'll do a quick breakdown. So it was Grimoldus, Helbrecht, Jump Captain, and a Jump Chaplain. 2 squads of Intercessors, a nice big old 20 block of Crusaders, and 2 squads of Sword Brethren, 1 10, 1 5, an Impulsor, and a Land Raider, and 2 squads of Assault Intercessor Jump Troops. That was correct, yeah. There we go. So yeah, I took that, and I drew a dreaded opponent in my first round. I mean, the guy Dan was who I played was a very nice guy, but he was playing Grey Knights, and I had a very bad experience, as Dom probably remembers when I last played Grey Knights. It was very saddening for me.
Yeah, you were very sad.
Yeah, because I lost to the bamboozlement of the Grey Knight shenanigans that goes on. Because I haven't played him before, to be fair, and yeah, I think it was my 3rd game previously. I was very tired, but anyway, this game went a lot better. In all seriousness, I can't remember everything that he had, but you had a various strike squads, purifiers, a Land Raider, a Dread Knight, and some. I think Drago is in there, and a kind of librarians. There was some Vortex of Dooms going around. It wasn't quite as bad as it could have been. That's what he told me as well, because he could have taken 3 librarians with Vortex of Doom, which could have been slightly more painful. However, I ended up managing to score 90 points, and he scored 100. So, annoyingly, I lost by 10 points. But considering the previous game, I barely managed to scrape together 20 points against the
against Grey Knights.
Against Grey Knights, I think I felt I felt like I did a lot better because I kind of knew what they could do, and just understanding that it was a massive help when you're playing against them. I then played some word bearers in my second game.
Did you?
But it wasn't Dom's word bearers. It was another nice chap called Colin, and he had it's kind of a, I'm not sure what theme it was really. He had a kind of a mix of quite a few Chaos units. They had some Chaos Terminators, some Possessed, a Land Raider, one Predator, Annihilator one, some Cultists, some Plague Bearers, and a Lord Discordant. It was quite a mismatch of stuff, really, but it was pretty effective. And I
We had a
managed.
Forge Fiend as well.
Oh, Forge Fiend, that was it. Oh, he had the Plasmon. That thing was horrible, by the way.
Pew, pew, pew.
That had a lot of guns. I managed to stop that eventually. And hello, friendly neighborhood Inquisitor. Don't worry, being late doesn't matter. It's all good. We're still here. We haven't run away. And Vicky is currently working on 2 squads of Exalted 8-bound, 1 squad of 8-bound, and Lord Invocatus is on the go as well. So she's got a few things rocking around.
Nice.
Yeah, so the Word Bearer game was I actually won that one. It was a close game. It was 68-61, I think, in the end. And that
Very
was
close.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. I think I could have done a little bit better. I made a couple of miniature mistakes in the middle when I started going back to my I must charge these things attitude. You have to fight sometimes because that's how I like to play. But sometimes when you've got to play for points, you've got to adjust the way you play. So I managed to dial it back a bit. So yeah, and I won that one, which then put me through to play my 3rd game actually against someone who we both know, Paul, and he was playing Demons. And yeah, he had oh Christ, he had a Greater Unclean one.
Yep.
And
Keeper of Secrets.
Keeper of Secrets. That was Keeper of Secrets, and 3 Soul Grinders, and
Yes.
and then a smattering of Bloodletters and some Plague Bearers and some Demonettes. And what was that other? There was one other one. That other Sleshy character. I can't remember what it was called. It escapes me.
Is it the big guy with the little guy running on top?
Little axe and whips all around him, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying. I can't remember what the name is, but yeah, that game. Paul actually won. However, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be at the end. He actually encouraged me to try and get some more points towards the end, and that made it come a little bit of a closer game because I think I was a bit tired by the end of the evening, to be fair. It had been quite a long old day, and my back was killing me because table height was quite low, and I have trouble with my lower back if I have to sort of lean over too much for a long period of time. So I think my concentration was a bit spent by the end of the day. But I still had that was actually one of my favourite games, to be fair, of the day, that one. Hellbrick made a good account of himself. So, and friend name who has a message retracted. Oh dear, I hope that.
Radical statement he made.
So radical that YouTube retracted it, or he did himself. I hope he just the one he took away. He went, oh, I can't say that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but overall, I think I ended up placing 19th in the 32 field, so wasn't too bad. My scores were a lot better than my previous outing, so all I can say is I think I've improved it. That's probably the best way of looking at it.
Yeah.
So, what about yours, Dom? How did yours go?
Well, so I'll go through my word bearer list very quickly. So 3 las cannon predators, 2 rhinos with havoc launchers, 2 land raiders, 2 squads of possessed, 2 warp smiths, 2 obliterators, and 4 squads of legionnaires. No, 3 squads of legionnaires, not 4.
That's what he told them anyway.
Yeah, suddenly another one popped up. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna leave that extra squad of legionnaires here. And yeah, so first game I played was against I'm trying to think. I think his name was Matt. I might be wrong, and it might be Mark. So apologies if I got that wrong. Which I'll go into at the end actually. And he was playing Dark Angels. So his Dark Angel list was quite cool. It was a bit of a splattering of everything. And clearly he was a big, he was saying he's just started playing 10th edition, and he was using units that he knew were going in the codex. So it was like the last outing for the index stuff. So he had a big old squad of Terminators in the middle with a chaplain and a ancient, I think there was. He then had one of the fancy Dark Angel land speeders, a Flamer Land Raider with a big boy squad of bolter aggressors in,
Hmm.
2 squads of interceptors with the plasmas, some infiltrators that just hid at the backfield, squad of hellblasters. No, 2 squads of eradicators here. 2 squads of eradicators, some blade guard. It had a bit of everything and all the nasty stuff as well. It wasn't like, oh, it's just got scouts. It was like, oh, yeah, here we go. It's eradicators and all sorts. Really fun game. He kept a lot in reserve because obviously he kind of thought, well, actually, I want to be coming up the flanks. In fact, a couple of people did actually during that event. So they do a strategic outflanking, which is quite cool. Yeah, he did quite well. I think he was unpleasantly surprised by how much damage my possess could do. So he'd bring out his blade guard, and they quickly got disappeared by the possessed. It also happened to the aggressors. It was, yeah, they were pretty brutal. And it turned into this big fight over this one objective, and the others were kind of getting like neglected a little bit. And I wouldn't say shenanigans. There was a couple of little cool tricks where I was just overwatching and going, oh, well, I'll go sustained with my las cannons, and I wiped a whole squad of interceptors out when they came in. I was like, oh, we'll give it a go. Oh, a couple of 6s and explode. Oh, a couple more. And I was like, oh my gosh, right, okay, that whole squad's dead. I was like, oh my god, that's amazing. That's amazing. I'm going to do this every game. I also used a strat that I have not used before, which is grenades. So
Nice.
I think I said before the event, I was like, I really want to use grenades. I always forget to do it. So one of my little aims for the event was to use the strat, and I did in the first game, and I killed an eradicator, and I'm like, yes, it works.
Vindication.
Yeah, it was worth doing all along. Yeah, I also on my Warpsmith gave him the Zinch enhancement, which the Eye of something something, which basically can generate CP. So when it came to trying like the grenade strat out, I didn't feel too bad. Where normally you've only got one. Well, I normally find I've got one command point, and I'm like, oh, I've got to save that. I can't burn that straight away. I got it just in case I might need it. But when I suddenly had 2, I was like, oh, let me try something I don't normally try. Or let me try a reroll. Oh, crazy times. Anyway, it was a good game. Eventually, however, because he had his Terminators going up the center of the board, and I kept pinging him off, and I think he had an apothecary in the squad. He kept bringing one back at a time, and it was like, right, okay. I had a couple of, and I just ignored them in the end. I was just like, right, okay, we'll just go around you. Like he's quite committed to holding the middle. His Terminators did kill a couple of vehicles, but generally they weren't leaving the center. But by the end of the game, it was just the Terminators that left. Everyone else was dead, and the score at the end was 80 something to 60, which is good. I was like, yes, good first game. So we had our little lunch break, and then the pairings came up, and I was lucky enough, I don't know if he's in the chat tonight, to draw Andy Ashby, because he was there, and he was a bit late coming back from lunch. So my assumption was, Tom, that he had saw that he had paired with me and decided that he was going to forfeit the game.
Out of fear, or
out of fear. The humiliation was too much. However, no, he was just dropping his son off. And a bit of history. I've played Andy at least twice before, and each time he's had his son with him, and he's won. And his son, like, he's a lovely, lovely kid. But he's kind of like, he's like Andy's caddy, where he'll be like handing over the right clubs or the right strats at the right time, and I'm like, oh no, here we go. But anyway, Andy then turns up without his son, and I'm like, yes, this is my time.
Is it? Take advantage. Take advantage.
Yeah, and so Andy's rocking up. He's got his Death Guard list with Mortarion, some Terminators, lots of vehicles, a bit of an all-comers list. He also has some Nurgle Demons with Great Unclean One, some Nurglings, and a squad of Plague Bearers. and it's nice, I think, like you said with like Paul, where you can play someone and you're instantly at ease with that person. Like you've met them before, you've played them before, you have a rapport with them, and it was quite nice for the second game to just like have a bit of a laugh with Andy. We both agreed on certain bits on the board when it came to terrain and what we could or couldn't do, blah 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 blah, and yeah, it was fun. Like because he had several vehicles, he had plague burst crawlers, he had some of the mowers, he had rhinos. I was able to take a few of those out in the first turn with like focused las cannon fire. He hid Mortarion for the first turn behind a building, and then Mortarion came out and was doing some damage, and there's all sorts of stuff going off. It was very back and forth, and I think turn 3 I was getting a bit concerned. I was like, all right, this could really go the other way, and luckily I was able to draw it back and had a victory there as well. Very similar score to the first game where it was 80-60. Hello, Gavin.
And
So
hello,
yeah,
Gavin.
I was very happy. And then the final game came up against a guy called Tony. He was rocking Blood Angels, and it was almost a mirror of my list when he had lots of tanks, lots and lots of tanks, and lots of Primaris anti-armor tanks. It was a great guy to play against. We were like he was very easygoing. We both kind of went, look, it's the last game of the day. Let's just have a laugh. We're on table 4. We're not on the top table. We're not going to win. Let's just have a bit of a laugh here. And he was like, yep, cool. However, his Blood Angels definitely were on point and were ripping apart my tanks with great ease. Hello, rules lawyer. And yeah, so he managed to win that one, and I think the scores kind of like flipped the other way. I think it was an 80-60 to him. So I had a pretty much average score throughout, which then flipped the other way, and yeah, he got that. And I don't know where I placed. I'm going to say
you were 13th.
13th. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it was a really fun game, a good overall event, and yeah. Yeah, it's nice because it was a list that I was like, oh, I quite like my mechanized list. I'm going to try something a bit different next time, or very different. However, it'll still be chaos. It's got to be chaos all the way, baby. But yes, that was our event. Out of 10, I would give it 8.
I think that's a fair assessment. Yeah.
I think I'll give it an 8.
Oddly enough, I don't think it was any of the gaming stuff that really let it down.
No.
I think, as we said, it was. I think maybe it's just because it was a little. There was no real on-site eating facilities.
No,
but
there wasn't.
It's not always the end of the world, but it's just one of those things that you have to sort of either bring stuff with you or leave to go and get some stuff. So, but overall, I would definitely go again. So it's not really It's not. To be fair, because me and Dom are local, it really wasn't that big of a deal for us anyway, because we know where everything is, and we knew somewhere that was in a good 15-minute walk, but it was it's not a problem. So, but yeah, it's one of those things that sometimes you can't avoid it because it's just venues like those are quite hard to come by. So
absolutely,
yeah, as we know, it's not that easy.
No, but it was a good fun day, and definitely would go again. The next one coming up.
Is this where we start rating events now, Dom? Is that our next big thing?
Well, Tom, I don't think it's that hard. You've literally just got to say a number. You haven't really got to justify it to anyone.
Until they all start watching the stream.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, okay.
What do you mean? Yeah. What do you mean a 5?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
And then that'll be
shout a number out, and they just accept it. If they don't accept it, the number gets lower.
The number gets lower. That's part of the okay. I get you. So it's part of the acceptance part. Yeah.
Yeah. How you do reviews? It's easy. I don't know why people make so much of a fuss about it. Yeah, unfortunately, Jack, you do have to keep them fed, otherwise they pass out.
They pass
They
out.
get, yeah, it's not good.
Because none of us eat there. You know, we're all very skinny.
Mhm.
But yeah, but overall that was a good that was a good start to my weekend, to be honest. So I would definitely do that again, and hopefully we can make the next one. I mean, our next event is currently in February when we are off to do doubles, which we're still deciding on our list at the moment. I think
Yes.
I've got a fairly good idea what I'm going to do, and Dom already called it, so you know, as he does.
Yeah, I knew what Tom was taking. Like, we're not going to say anything though.
No, we're going to keep it. Going to keep it quiet.
However, yeah, it's one of those things where I haven't decided what I'm going to be taking because I want to kind of, I think, like just complement what Tom's taking.
But
By
likewise, if you feel that you
be
can't,
rolling into exactly the same gimmick, and we're just going, let's just go with that.
to be fair,
work.
it's not a bad gimmick. I can
No.
almost think of an idea for you as well, Dom, which I think you might be going down the same route. So
Yeah,
but
exactly.
we'll see. And if it is that, I think it will be very, very amazing.
Yeah. Lots of fun to be had. But yeah, we've got our little one. So at the moment, Tom, I'm quite feeling pretty motivated, hobby-wise, to be fair.
Well, you know, I mean, look at me. I've gone straight back onto painting after this. I know this isn't directly 40k related, but I feel the need to crack on mainly because I do know what I want to get for my next purchase for my Templars. But I can't buy it this month. I spent too much money already, so that'll be happening next month. Because I don't need it for the next event. But yeah, it's one of those things you I think when you do these things and it goes all kind of all right, it doesn't necessarily have to go brilliantly, but it goes all right, and you don't feel like you've had a bad time. You get that kind of, oh yes, this is good. I could go back and do some more of this, that kind of thing, you know. And especially if you sign up to a few events and get a few queued up, it kind of motivates you to keep going as well. Which is one of the important things.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where if you're not in the zone, how do you get back in the zone? And some people, it's signing up for an event and going, right, okay, well, not feeling it at the moment. I'm going to work on a list, and then I'll probably come up with some models. Other people might just kind of go, actually, I need to paint something or I need to play a game. Yeah, because you want to get back into it, but how do you get back into it is more the kind of the issue.
Rules lawyer. Is it for Titanicus? Oh, this is for Adeptus Titanicus rules lawyer. I think both me and Dom spoke about the Legion one. I think it's probably a step too far to get into. So I think Dom's having a look at some space-based stuff, and I was having a look at Titan-based stuff.
Yeah, look. I've got them here. Oh, Battlefleet Gothic.
Yeah. So I've got. Yeah. Likewise, I've got the other. The box set came with 6 of them, so these are the other 2. So I'm just doing half and half loyalist chaos. So just to keep it even. But yes, that's basically what I'm doing. But it's also for this one specifically is for this month's project paint. As in the competition-y thing. I'm not entering it to win it. You know, I'm just taking part. That's all that matters is the taking part.
That's a spirit, Tom. That's a spirit.
But I might get someone else to enter it for me. For any of us, I started building my competition entry the other day, hoping to finish putting together the dread tonight. Probably going to wait a bit for. Now, this is what I did. For this last tournament. I caused myself a lot of pain last week. In that, on Monday last week, I had 22 models to paint before the Saturday. Now they weren't all completely unpainted, but they were not anywhere near being finished to a standard that I was going to be reasonably happy with. And I I spent all week getting them up to scratch and procrastinating a couple of times on the Tuesday and the Wednesday. But when you do that, you run dangerous territory, especially when it's like it's not simple models, because 10 of them were not simple to paint because they were Sword Brethren. They have so much like, details, capes, iconography. I was very happy that the other 10 I was doing with the Assault Intercessors with jump packs, because they were much more simple to do because they're much more plainer. And then there was one Brutalis Dreadnought, which I haven't finished yet. To be honest, all of them need a bit more work. They got to a point where I think they were good enough to play with on the board. And to be honest, when you go to some of these sort of tournaments, sometimes you think you haven't done enough, but you do see some other armies that genuinely do help come up there with like 3 colours on them, which is it's just fine if they're there to play the game. I understand it. It's not it's not part of what you go there to do. It's all about playing the actual game. That's kind of the point. Some events do like a best painted category, but if you're not in for that, you don't have to take part in it. So
I think that's the thing. It's whatever you take from the hobby, really, and I think it's a representation of what you are capable of a lot of the time, what you put down on the board. So you don't want to sell yourself short.
Yeah.
Where, like, some people might go, it's not my thing. I'm going to push forward with the gaming aspect, and that's what I'm all about. But yeah. I for one, Tom, I also like to try and get everything up to a good standard before I put it on the board for any event.
I would definitely say your standard's higher than mine. That's how I would look at it.
But it's just whatever. It's whatever people are happy with.
Yeah. The reason I'm putting it off is I'm also doing the Hobby Apocalypse. So I'm holding off so I can enter it in next month. I've already painted 530 points. Okay, fair enough. You've done quite a bit. Nice. That's fine. I mean, if you want to, it's one of those things. I mean, I've got an absolute backlog of models I can work through whenever I feel like. I've got a combat patrol. I've definitely not. I should have finished by now, but because I got sidetracked with other things, painting wise, I haven't gone back and just quickly done the last 5 models I need to do, which I probably should do.
So many models. I was thinking earlier, actually, how many models I've got kind of in limbo-ish states that I could kind of pull my finger out and do. But I end up getting sidetracked quite a lot. Because like these Marines that I'm painting at the moment, they've been up on top of that cupboard for maybe a year. So I'm slowly working my way through that stuff. I've got a squad of Havocs up there.
New Havocs or old Havocs?
New Havocs. Got a couple of las cannons, and I don't know what other weapons I've got. Anyway, and this guy, he was in my bits box for at least 5 years, and I just was like, I need another champion. Oh, I'll get one of those chosen models, and they are a little bit shorter than the new Marines, but I think it just adds to his zealous outlook that
they've got character. He's got
to compensate and show his worth to the taller Marines.
I thought that was the same for most Chaos.
Yeah, they do. They've got to show their worth. Smally, teeny, tiny ones against a big, mean Primaris.
You've got Exalted 8-bound now. Don't worry about it. I think they're bigger than Primaris.
They are pretty big.
And the weapons they carry are just like brutal, really, in comparison to a lot of other weapons that you guys carry. So.
Yeah, they are pretty big, actually, the old Exalted. They're cool models. I have put a couple of bids in on eBay, actually.
Oh, yeah?
I don't think. Yeah. So hopefully I'll get some good stuff from my World Eaters soon.
Is this for more sort of same stuff or just rounding out some bits?
Different stuff.
Oh, cool. That'll be good to see if you win said bids.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on them. Sometimes I just put stuff like bids on stuff, and I'm like, not overly bothered, to be honest, if I win or not. Or like you go put a bid in, you're like, oh geez, was I drunk? Why did I put a bid on that?
I don't even need this.
Yeah. Craft World Elder. Why am I? What?
However, I think that's one of the better attitudes to have on eBay is don't get sucked into that whole bidding war thing. If you, unless it's, I mean, obviously there are probably some cases around that. If you're really looking after that final piece for a collection, I can understand people going mad. But if you're just buying models, I think you always need to get to that point where I'm willing to pay this much for it, and I'm not going to be upset if I don't get it, because ultimately there's always other models out there. It's not that there's so many there's so many of them available online anyway in most places if you look around,
Hmm.
except for specialist stuff. But ultimately, if you're getting specialist stuff, you're probably willing to pay the price for it anyway, because that's kind of the area you're buying in. So, um, rules lawyer. I am in the middle of a big push to get my whole army painted to a 3 color minimum. I need to get better by doing more and developing. Yep. Honestly, I think just painting sometimes is good enough to get you better. The more you genuinely paint, I think you get to a certain standard, and I think if you stop painting for a bit, you drop a little bit, but you soon get back into that kind of swing of it once you pick the brush up again consistently. And then if you do keep it up, I think you gradually add little things to your repertoire. It's one of those things. It's like anything. The more you do it, the more you'll become more competent at it. It's just the way it rolls. Unfortunately, painting is one of those things. You know, I've got models that I look at and go, "Oh, this one's come out really well." Then you do one like a month later after not doing much and go, "Oh, this is not quite as good," and it annoys you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, if you take a bit of a break, you sometimes get back to it, and it's quite hard to get back into it properly.
Mm.
But if you're consecutively doing model, you might be like, actually, yeah, this is getting easier, and I'm trying different techniques out.
Also, as I said, time frame is quite a big thing. If you're rushing models, sometimes that can have a negative effect on what you're trying to do. And I know that had a couple of models that were, I wouldn't say slapdash, but there was a couple ones that I was like, oh, I can leave that. I'll come back, sort that out later. Because ultimately, no one's going to be forensically looking at them in the arena that you're taking them to. What's this? Mike 8404. I had to take a break from Black Templars for a bit. Got about 3k paint before getting back to work on Guardians of the Covenant Army. Excited for the new Inner Circle companion. Oh, well, Mike. That's right. As said, sometimes you do need to take a step away from an army you've been painting for a long time. I think sometimes you can get either bored with the colour scheme, or you can just be sick or tired of painting the same type of model over and over again in the same scheme. Luckily there's a huge variation in model types for most armies now, so you can kind of at least offset some of it with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, doing different armies, you add different techniques into your repertoire when it comes to painting them. You can go like, well, I do a decent effect on that one, which I'll then mimic and put onto these ones as well. Like maybe I'm quite good at painting the robes on these particular models. But when it comes to putting someone a Bladeguard veteran, I've learnt that on a previous one.
Yeah.
I'm going to chuck it onto these guys. And also, it's a bit like, I know it's a running joke that I love painting red. I do love painting red. But like with my World Eaters, there is a minimal amount of red on these models. I think it's just the pauldrons and parts of their helms. That's about it. Everything else is a different color. So yes, it's nice to just change up and do something different.
I think it was like when I was painting my red scorpions. I learned to paint yellow and white a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's lots of apothecaries, so I had to learn to paint white reasonably well with that army. And I've used that technique and I've transferred that to a lot of my Templar paint now, and it's better for it. Like I said, I think when I did my my knights, I learned metalwork a lot better as well. Because you're painting a lot of metal, so you just get that. You just pick up little things. It's and as Dom says, you can sort of transfer that over to other aspects of your work, which can surprise you sometimes as well. Because you go, oh, I've done that before. I'm just going to copy what I did over here, and this has turned out right on here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Fun fact: the skill set Thousand Sons will add is your ability to keep all your hair while painting trim. Dom's the trim master, so you have to talk to him about that.
Yeah. What you do is you spray the color of the trim, because Chaos Space Marines, for some reason, decided that every part of their armor should have trims on them. Sometimes I look at Marines, I'm like, oh gosh, must be so nice. Like you said, like your Bladeguard veterans, oh, they're a bit ornate, and they got. And I was like, oh man, yeah. All of my guys have got blooming trinkets on them. What? They're a bunch of kleptos. Just I'll put that on my armor, shall I? Yeah. Got tusks coming
what
out.
is that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just stuck it on.
Yeah. Got tusks coming out my knees and extra eyeballs on my elbows. It's like, what's going on?
So it's that dark god packs, mate. You got to watch out for them.
Yeah.
Let's give them their
But luckily,
gifts.
yeah, my dart packs were quite good this week. So it's all good. However, my warpsmith did one of my warpsmiths did die in a tragic explosion off a tank in one game. It was very sad. In the first game against the Dark Angels, the aggressors blew up my predator, which then in turn blew up my rhino, killed my warpsmith.
Was that your fresh one?
Yeah, it was. Well, both of them are.
Amazing how it finds them, isn't it? It always finds it, new model.
Yeah, it was just slowly trying to repair it from the other side, and those aggressors just blew him up. And yeah, it was very sad, Tom.
Gavin, I have no hair and I collect Thousand Suns. Well, at least you don't have to worry about that part. Just don't start ripping your skin off your scalp, Gavin. That's probably the best bit of advice I can give on that one. And I feel priming the trim color makes it worse rather than trying to avoid sunken areas. I'm trying to avoid hitting raised areas when I inevitably fail and end up having to paint most of the trim. I mean, yeah, I think everyone's got their own solution to it. I mean, I tend to do non-trim first as well because I tend to be quite rough with my first coats of paint. I don't really care necessarily what I hit when I'm doing the wide areas. I'll just go in with a brush and try and get the coats correct. That's kind of my thing, and then I will then go in and go around the trim individually with a detail brush. Which yes, I think is painful, but as Dom says, I don't have that many trim armies. Thank Christ. It's it's not quite the
Depends
same.
what you want. Yeah, I mean, it does happen quite a lot that you're painting and you go over your trim on certain bits. So we could talk about trim for ages. But what I tend to do is I'll do the base coats. I'll leave the trim as it is most of the time if it's a bit knackered, and then I'll do the wash, come back, and then start colouring in the trim again. Or no, so I do the dry brushing, and then I'll come in and do the trim because it just seems a bit counterproductive to do the first coat, do the trim, do whatever you're going to do, dry brush, do the trim again. I'm like, well, I'll just do the trim at the end. Just touch it in certain places.
But yeah, you can probably see here, I've not been particularly careful about going into the edges here. I've just kind of caught wherever I can paint to get those panels done. I mean, to be fair, on models like this, because the nice thing about these models and dreadnoughts and other vehicle models is the trims are a lot more raised than on the little models that you paint, which are like infantry. So yeah, it's
yeah, that's a guy I'm doing at the moment. It's all trim.
Yeah, they have a lot. I agree. You have my sympathy in a non-chaotic way.
Yes, sympathy's the first feeling. Understanding.
But I think one of the things I've gotten better at is I would say when you're painting colours that don't have a good coverage of paint, is learning to put on as many layers as required to get it to that block colour. Because if you kind of stop at a point where you go, well, it looks good enough, then you look a bit closer and it's like, I can still kind of see that little black behind there, just a little bit, but learning when to sort of know when that you've got that right is quite a key thing when you're doing colour blocks and stuff, because otherwise you just end up with like, not patchy, but sometimes maybe not what you're 100% wanting from the model, which can be a bit disappointing.
Yeah, can be hard.
To say something nice about painting Thousand Suns, they are an army that works particularly well with bright, vibrant colours. Yes, I think they do. They have that kind of mysticism, which makes, I think, all their ornate little. I think I think their army lends itself to that. Rules letters. I paint gold trim on my Black Legion on top of a black undercoat and base coat, and then neaten up later. Yep. Again, see, everyone's got a different method. So
yeah, it's whatever works for you, really, isn't it? I don't think there's necessarily a right or wrong answer. It's just do what works for you, and I think it's all about trying different things as well. Because you might just go, no, I'm just gonna spray them red, and then do all the other bits and add all the trim in. Then when actually there might be another way that works differently for you and might be better.
I think the models that worked best for me with the different base coat was when I did the 4 demons, because I did use a base coat can of their main color underneath, but that's because most of it is the same color in a way, so it's easier to. I think that's an easier thing to do for them. But I think a model can have a massive effect on it as well. To be honest, sometimes, depending on what
Yeah,
type of model it is and things like that.
absolutely. It's like, for instance, I'm going to go through some of my bits box, and I've got some of the old cultists. And normally my word bearers, as you can see, I spray them silver, and then I'll work up from there. But with the cultists, I'll spray them black, and then work my way up from the black. Just because it's just that slightly darker look, where I don't have to worry about trim as well. So I can just add those bits of silver in as needed.
That's fair enough. The red metallic scheme of 1,000 Suns in 30k is. I'll do this simple for you like this. Yeah, it's very good. It is actually. I think there's that display at Warhammer World in front of on Prospero in front of one of their pyramids with their fire. Yeah, that is a very very cool. I do like how obviously all the Chaos Religions switch their colours somehow as well. It's quite and it always tend to be quite an opposite colour to what they were doing. I mean, I think World Eaters is one of the biggest examples. Yeah, they just went, let's just make it red. It's going to be red anyway. Get rid of the white.
Get rid of the white and the blue.
Yeah.
It's all about the red. I think, most of them did, didn't they, really?
I'm trying to think which ones didn't. Death Guard? Death Guard were white.
Yeah. White and green, and then they're just like green, really, now, aren't they? And they've got Alpha Legion has stayed the same. Night Lords have pretty much stayed the same. I mean, obviously, they're a little more chaos.
They added more kind of bat wings.
Added more bat wings.
Yeah.
On their knees.
Yeah, on their knees. Yeah.
Iron Warriors have pretty much stayed the same, but I think the rest, the rest have pretty much changed.
Yeah, I think the ones that fell to the gods definitely changed 100%. I think all their ones did. Because technically, Sons of Horus are Black Legion, so they changed 3 times technically.
Lunar Wolves, weren't they?
Lunar Wolves, then Sons of Horus, and then Black Legion.
Which is your favourite paint scheme for them?
For the Sons of Horus / Lunar Wolves.
No, Lunar Wolves / Black Legion.
I think I like the original. I like the Lunar Wolves original. I think that's nice. I mean, I wouldn't want to paint Sons of Horus in that green with the eye. I think that would be horrendous to do. But
people in the chat, which paint scheme do you prefer out of the 3? Sons of Horus, Lunar Wolves, or Black Legion?
Yeah, it's quite a big difference from start to finish in that particular field as well.
Yeah, I think I prefer the Sons of Horus.
Like the green.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice, very distinctive colour.
Do you think Abaddon liked it?
Nah, I think he wasn't a big fan of it, really, to be honest. A bit negative about it all.
Yeah, he's But
like, first thing we're doing, changing colours.
Yeah, and then I'm going to call you the Sons of Horus because I am important. Night Lords didn't change. Sons of Horus, Lunar Wolves, Black Legion. Yeah, no, fair enough. I think there's they've all got their points. I think I think I like that original vanilla Lunar Wolves. It is so Lunar Wolves was solid. Sons of Horus and Black Legion were their identity crisis colours. I mean, fair enough. That's a pretty good way to put it. It has got to be Black Legion on the new Chaos models, but the Sons of Horus sea green Black Veterans on the new Horus Heresy models. Okay, cool. That's an interesting answer.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, good point.
Oh, Gavin. Gavin. I don't know if I should read that out. I mean, I will do. He said,
I think you should.
You could say he abandoned their colour scheme. Okay.
I'll move on.
Yeah, and then Sons of Horus, I think, was the most standout.
Yeah.
Right, I'm now going to do something now. I'm going to have a look at how many likes we've got, Dom. 6. That's much better than usual. Well done, everyone. Like I said, there is 9 watching, so I mean it should be 9 really.
Yeah, that's a good
I
point,
just
Tom.
like to point that out. It-
We don't ask for much, do we? Really?
yeah.
Bare minimum they could do is hit little thumbs or the little emojis
Yeah.
on the side here.
Also, while we're doing this, I should probably quickly whip out.
No, don't do that, Tom. Don't whip that out. Get us in trouble again.
I am just actually creating a new
You
invite.
think that'll up our views by people not being able to see us?
No, that was intentional.
We got a voice for podcasts. A voice,
no,
a face for podcasts.
face for podcasts. I hope we got a voice for it, mate. We've now got 9 likes. That means we've had a like from everyone who's currently watching. So thank you very much. I do appreciate that, guys. There's also a link to our Discord there. If you haven't joined us, come along. If there's any new people here tonight, if you click that link and join our Discord, we will make you a member, and you can see the rest of the thing. We do like little painting challenges, which we just started up again now. You kind of come back at a point when we're reinvigorated and started the new year with much gusto and passion. Yeah, is that right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I am sitting here painting word bearers, legionnaires, where I don't necessarily think it's the most like the thing I really need to be doing, but I do I just like having legionnaires everywhere. They're cool. They're cool models.
Well, I think it's like when I went for that phase of painting basic, foot sloggy Marines. You kind of get to the point where you're like, oh, I want loads of these guys. I won't use them all the time, but when I do use all of them at the same time in a big game, it's going to be so cool to have them.
Yeah.
Which actually, that brings an interesting topic because I've been genuinely pondering about counting up all of the original Marines now, the firstborns I have, Crusader squads, and purposely buying enough to replace every single one of them with the new kit.
Oh, right, okay.
And then either selling or putting in a display case the old ones. Because
maybe make a little diorama, Tom.
Yeah, something like that. Something to I think I'd be quite not upset, but I don't think I'd feel comfortable letting them all go. Because it's interesting because as you know I really love the new Primaris range personally from a looks point of view, and from how they and how they all work, and I kind of want to have that same aesthetic across the army.
Yep.
I mean, ultimately things like this. Obviously I've got an old Emperor's Champion. This is the new one which I happen to have sitting here, and I think this is what I think. I love the Emperor Champion model. I think this is such a cool model. And it does unfortunately beat out the other one. Also, the other one you got me, the limited edition one, I've got as painted up as well. Things like that. I think that they're also just. I don't know if everyone might agree with me. They're just easier to paint from a not having to paint on tiny little surfaces point of view. I'm sure you'll probably find that with the new Chaos models. I'm going to guess.
Yeah, I mean, if they didn't have trim, they probably would be really easy to paint, mate. But like their hands have got trim. Why have their hands got trim?
Has the trim got trim? That's when you start to really worry, Dom.
It wouldn't be surprising if there's a trim on. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like I probably look do the same with my Legionnaires. Like I've got the older ones, which have got a special place in my heart because the older ones I've probably got I've probably got about 30 old ones, which were there when I started this army, when we started the channel really. And they have served me well over the years, so it would be a shame to lose them.
Yeah.
But I would probably keep them for apocalypse games, but very rarely will they come up for anything else.
That's basically the same problem I've got. Is because I've got a layer in one of my KR cases, which I think hasn't been touched for probably since the last apocalypse game because I've had no need to, because I just wouldn't take them. The new Crusader squads look 100 times better than the old ones. Unfortunately, that's just the way it rolls. But that's mainly because there wasn't a Crusader kit previously either, so that was another thing going for it. Because obviously previously it was buy a squad of Marines, buy the upgrade kit, and then put them together. That was kind of what you did. So you ended up, especially that's the other reason that I feel really like I don't want to do it because I spent so much money on kitting out Marines with that because it was like, right, let's buy the £20 box of Marines, and let's buy the £15 upgrade kit. And then, oh, that's only got enough to do one of them. I have to do that again when I get the next one, and next one, and next one, and next. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons that it became quite difficult to do, especially when I think they also changed the compatibility with the kit at one point because of the way some of the torsos changed on some of the firstborn. So they had you remember the old ones where you had to put obviously the two barrel chest bits together.
Yeah.
And then they had like nodules on one side so they would sit in correctly. I remember once when I got some of them had nodules on both sides. I was like, "What? How am I supposed to use these?"
Oh right.
So I had to shave them down. I think it was the Jump Marines when they got a slight rework. But yeah, what's funny? It's funny because Primaris models are definite upgrade except for tanks. I will agree with you on the tanks because I'm not a huge fan of all the new hover tanks. I think they just I can't put my finger on it. They do look a bit samey. But also
They don't sit well.
yeah, there is something about them. I don't like the fact they went down the hover route. I would have preferred they had some more tracked ones. It's the same thing I think I felt with the Outrider bikes. Yeah, they all look very kind of like cookie cutter now. There's not really much difference between them. I mean, with a Marine, you can have a little play with them and do some slightly different things with it. But the bikes, I think they're just yeah. I'm not a huge fan of the Outrider kit.
But it'd be interesting. What guys in the chat? What would you do with your old school Space Marines? Would you replace them, or you carry on going to use your old smaller Marines? What are your thoughts on that? Also, the same could be said for Guard, really, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because the new Guard models are amazing. They are really nice models. And me, for instance, I've got 100 guardsmen of the old sort, and a lot of it, and a bit like my Chaos Legionnaires, where I would be converting them and adding a bit of character to them, which is makes them a little bit more fun and personal. I don't know if I'd replace them. I'd probably just make a platoon of the newer guys.
You gradually would, wouldn't you? I think for me, I wouldn't be thinking about replacing it if I hadn't bought so many of the Primaris Marines now. Because I've got to the point where I've got quite a lot of them. So now I look at it and going, well, I don't really want this mix and match effect. I just want this, getting quite a lot of response to this one. So Mike 8404, they did it with Horus Heresy 2, the Templar Brethren upgrade kit. Yes, I know that for a fact because I've actually got that upgrade kit sitting in there for a project that I was pondering about doing for my Templars when I was going to do oddly enough, a Sword Brethren kind of conversion using the Templar Brethren upgrade kit because it looked quite cool, but I couldn't quite work it out to make some changes that I wanted to, so I haven't really gone back to it. And you took yours over to the Horus Heresy apparently, which is actually that's not a bad idea. I suppose you could get away with that to a certain degree if you wanted to play Horus Heresy. Rules Liar. I really like the quality of the details on the models and the posing and proportions, but the lore and unit scales creep for Primaris drive me crazy. I hate those aspects so much. I mean, yeah, that's a can of worms there, isn't it? The lore stuff. I mean, I don't really know that much about it really. I probably should read more on it. But there was I mean, I know there's a lot of weird like directions they took the lore. Especially, I think the weird one wasn't it? Didn't what's his face? Cool, have this ready for the Emperor like ages ago, and decided that probably shouldn't use these guys. This pattern of Marine.
Fine.
something
yeah,
like
they're
that.
all right.
Yeah, now they're okay. So that's all right. Friendly Open Inquisitor says, I find it funny. I like the treads over grav tanks, although I do like the new tanks. But since they added grav tanks, I'm super annoyed they didn't add grav bikes. That's a fair point, actually. Because if you think about it, there are all these like big floating vehicles. I thought, should we start with a bike maybe? See how the tech works. Nice little grav bike. No, let's put this massive gun on a floating platform first. This is our first endeavour in the grav era.
Yeah. Let's just put these on. Lovely jubbly.
And Captain Jack, for me, the old Marines aren't worth selling as they go for peanuts and spent too many hours on them. Mine will eventually get turned into I think the diorama's thing is a good suggestion from obviously yourself and Dom there. I think I might try a maybe I could do it because I've actually got the nice thing is I've got the old Hellbrick, got the old Grimoldus. I could maybe do an old I could do a Hell's Reach diorama.
There you go.
Wish I kept some of my orcs now.
Well, Tom, you had yourself to blame, haven't you?
No, I don't know about that. I'm quite happy they're gone. I feel like I've been hogging the comments, Dom. I think it's your turn now.
I don't think there's any comments left.
Yeah, there is.
Oh, here we go.
Everyone just pops in there.
Rosa disliked Primaris so much that I wrapped up with Dark Angels and Space Wolves and went into the Heresy. Oh, there we go. Oh, so started Black Legion, the gorgeous new Chaos Space Marine models, and the Custodes. Anything over Primaris. Yeah. Now that's fair enough. I mean, it depends on your point of view. Like Tom said, he's a big fan of his Primaris. I personally like the old ones when it comes to being able to pose and model them. There seems to be a bit more you could do with them, where Primaris, and especially even the UK Space Marines, you're pretty much stuck with the poses. You can work on it, but it's more hard work than it used to be.
That's a fair comment. That's a fair comment, yeah.
Because obviously they're trying to limit how many things they can put on a sprue. You know, they're cutting out bottoms of tanks, for instance. Because
that was a very odd one. That was a very odd one.
But it is what it is, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately it's their direction they've chosen, so...
I just think the Primaris, that the basic guys just lack any individual character, I think. As for my non-Space Marine mind. When I was looking at, like, the... looking at some of the Blood Angel models, which were basically just, like, Eradicators or Hellblasters, I was like, they all look exactly the same. But I suppose I'm kind of spoilt with Chaos Space Marines. They're quite individual. Where the Primaris, you know, it's not the look they're going for a lot of the times. They just want
I think
clean armor.
Yeah,
everyone's.
I think that's just that. I think that's the type of army you're collecting, and you kind of have to say that's the type of army I'm doing. That's if you're going with that way. I mean, obviously, yeah, you can make alterations to it. It's fine. You know, you can dirty it up, clean, you know, do various things. I mean, I think the one thing that I think I prefer the range is I do have a bit of variation because I can buy Crusader Squad kits which do actually have a good difference to them compared to a standard Marine. Yeah, you can see my difference between the guys who are in the Crusader Squads and who are the ones in the other types of squads because they all have tabards, they all have iconography, chains on their weapons, that kind of thing. I've had to add chains myself, as Dom knows. I had bought a big reel of chain just to cut and wrap round and glue on to the arms of my guys, which was a bit of a pain, but you know, that's kind of their thing, so it would be silly not to. Rules
Absolutely.
They were so pointless. They should have just done the rolling updates for the line at the start of the 8th edition. They should have just started with Terminators, Bikes, Command Squads, etc. Well, yeah, I mean, I think the standard Marine kits did need an update. Whether Primaris was the direction to go, I don't know. I think it splits people personally. I'm not going to say anyone's right or wrong. Because ultimately it's so down to personal choice. That's just the way it is sometimes. You know, I mean, a lot of people probably got into it because they like the new models, and a lot of people may have just skipped over them and said, "Well, I've got enough to get on with this." I mean, I remember when we had this discussion probably 5 years ago. Something we said, "Oh, it's the death of the Space Marines." People were going, everything's going to be retconned. No, we're not going to have anything, and and it's taken this long to get to only some models currently being removed. And unfortunately, they are the less popular ones. That's just the way it rolls. No one was buying Ironclad Dreadnoughts. Storm Speeders barely. I mean, when was the last time you saw a Storm Speeder? Before they
exactly. It's it's a hard one though, because it does hurt when part of your army just goes boop, gone.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh right. So it depends who you're playing with and what kind of agreement you have. Depends, what kind of community you're in. Like if you're really into your like going to events and stuff and competitive stuff, you might you'd probably feel the loss greater than someone that just plays with a small group of mates who don't really care if it's legends or not legends. I mean, we say this, Tom. Most of the times we play, we don't have legend units in there. mainly because it's harder to look up the rules
Yeah.
for legend units. Unfortunately,
Correct.
it'd be nice thing if the app enabled you to enable to
A
view
Legends
legend.
tick box, just something like that, where they
Yeah,
put them in. But ultimately, they probably won't do that because it's more for them to manage, which I think is probably not that good of an excuse, really, considering they've probably got the cards in data packs for for when they printed the cards, they probably got it all in some form of database already. That's
of course they have.
I don't see what the additional effort to add them to the Battleforge app would be. What's this? A friendly neighborhood. I started at the end of 8th edition, so I don't have any attachment to the pre-primary. So yeah, see, this is a good example. People coming in now, they're going to have a completely different opinion because it's all they've actually had from the beginning. Because obviously they pushed. If you went to a shop as a new player and you went, here's some Primaris Marines and here's some standard firstborn Marines, which you're probably going to pick the Primaris because they look bigger and more to the scale that you kind of expect a Marine to be. So that's the sad fact of it. It's just people look at both of them side by side, and if they're a brand new person, they're going to pick the bigger models because they fit what the law says they are. Because if you stand a standard firstborn Marine next to like a guardsman nowadays, they're the height difference isn't big enough. It's chunkiness, yes, but the size difference isn't there.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame, but I suppose it's kind of one of those things. Like a similar topic would be talking about Old World and then Age of Sigmar, where the old world models are at least 20 years old, some of them,
if not older.
and if not older. And a lot of it's just sold on nostalgia, which is absolutely fine. Sell it on nostalgia, because I look at the models. I watched the battle report on Warhammer TV, and I was like, "Oh my god, they've got like a green felt board going on." Oh, it was beautiful. But then, if you had someone that's just got into the game, into the hobby, they'd probably look at it and go, "What is this? Why do the undead horses look that ridiculous?" And you'd be like, "Well, they're probably about 40 years old."
Yeah, so just deal with it.
Yeah.
But I mean,
but once again, I love those models.
Yeah.
I love the old undead chariots and cavalry and the skeletons. They look a bit naff these days, but
they've got a certain charm to them. I think that's the way I'd look at it.
Yeah, and it's a nostalgic charm, I think, because you look at what GW have done now with AOS and the undead sculpts coming out there, and they're amazing. They're absolutely beautiful. And Games Workshop have made that decision to go, no, you wanted this, you're having it. And you're like, cool, okay, actually I can live with this, or not my thing. And it's going to be similar to Firstborn and Primaris.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing about that, obviously that old world thing, is that they don't have to do much to sell that and redo it because they've got the sculpts ready to go. They just they're just reopening up and reprinting stuff that they've got. They're not having to spend a lot of time redeveloping for people that just want to play that old school version of Warhammer. That's ultimately it. They've just had to make a rules change, print some new books, new cover art, done. It's nice. It's nice and easy for them. And I kind of, it's probably not a bad business decision because it's probably a line of revenue that they've just tapped back into from a lot of people that went, I'm not playing this Age of Sigmar stuff.
Yeah. Nonsense.
I mean, we never picked up Age of Sigmar, did we? Really?
No, I've played 2 games of AOS, and it's fine. And the models are nice, but it's each to their own, really.
Probably something I might play once, twice again, as I said, but not something I want to pick up on a permanent basis, I suspect. It's the same things, I'd love to pick up things like the Legion game, but it's the time to operate multiple gaming systems to a level where you're kind of comfortable playing with it and not feeling like, I don't really play this enough to warrant spending the money on it. That's ultimately where it comes down to. Your time is limited, and I think that's the real factor.
Yep. Absolutely.
Like you say, it's a matter of opinion. Some of my friends like them, some hate them. They did come at the same time as a spike in sales. Was it the models? Was it the marketing? I'm going to say it's probably both. You can have all the marketing you want in the world, but if word of mouth from people that buy the models say it's all a bunch of crap, I suspect people won't buy them. I mean, it's like they marketed that ATV as a replacement, didn't they? I ain't got one. Not going to buy one.
You and the ATV, Tom.
That thing is...
Jeez, you love it. You love the ATV. Anytime...
No.
Vicky, if you're listening, buy him one for his birthday. Buy him 3.
eBay's going to
Destroy
have a
the
happy
receipt.
day. So I won't be able to sell them. What we got here? I eventually will collect AOS. Got 4 armies I'm interested in order: Seraphon, Gloomspite, Gitz, Nighthaunt, and Disciples for Tzeentch. Nice. I don't know where I'd even go there. The thing is, I've always had a soft spot for the Empire army. I mean, I think me and Dom, both played Empire, didn't we, for a while?
Yep.
Um,
Yep, we did indeed.
I still remember that last game I had, and remember crying.
Yeah, you do cry a lot of games. It's a bit weird.
Well, Empire
I
versus
don't know
Warriors
if
of
it's
Chaos.
Yeah,
Come on.
it's good.
Well, it's like when you had the cannon, you're like, I just want this cannon to be as good as it looks. I just want this cannon to hit and do something really cool. It's like, oh, you've missed. Oh, you've missed. Although back then you had to do guesstimation, didn't you? So
bounce it. Bounce the ball. Bounce the ball. But there are some cool models. I don't know if I'd be into old world or, like I said, I love the nostalgia point of view. And I think sometimes memories are best kept as memories of fondness, not kind of going back to do stuff. And I think maybe if I was to do one, it'd probably be AOS over old world.
Yeah, I think I would probably be the same. I think AOS. I think I like the idea of old world, as in like I look at it and go, "Oh, this looks fun," but actually, I think the type of game doesn't suit me.
Yeah, fair statement there, Tom.
There we go. Seraphon, Aztec, Lisbon, riding dinosaurs. What other reason do I need to buy all of them?
Exactly.
And I think demons would be a good army to collect. Good models, usable in AOS, no world. I mean, this is true actually. I mean, I do have a Chaos Demons army, and as does Dom, and they are both. I mean, I think it's probably what you used in your AOS
Yeah.
game. I'm going to presume. So.
Yeah. I had demons. I was like, yeah, let's do demons. But the more I'm kind of experimenting with contrast paints, the more like the idea of an army of like the corn like guys, just the big muscular corn guys with axes. I'm like, they're actually pretty quite easy to paint. Add a bit of that, add a bit of red, done. So it's not quite as like daunting as it might have been before.
That's true. That's true. You've got more tools available to help getting painting done.
Exactamundo.
Because it's very rare we pay with unpainted models unless we're testing something very experimental. So.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I think it's very rare actually, isn't it? We don't really use unpainted models at all.
I think we kind of drilled it into ourselves when we were filming battle reports more regularly. Well, I say regularly, we haven't done one for a very long time, but except for live ones, of course. But I think we said we wanted to always try and say, let's only do painted stuff.
Yeah.
And when you make that decision, I think that's somehow, I think that does sort of set, even when you're playing like normal games, it does kind of, you're reluctant to bring unpainted stuff unless there's a very specific reason that you want to test something.
Yeah, I think generally, like, I might be in a chat group, or there'll be a Facebook thing goes up, and they're like, "Oh, here's a battle I played the other day," and they'll show some pictures, and I'm always like, "Yeah, brilliant, let's have a look," and then there's unpainted models, and instantly I'm like,
what Dom's saying is he's a paint snob.
I am a paint snob, 100% a paint snob. Like, I just love painted models. I don't care the standard of the painted models.
You just like to see someone's
at all. I just think if you put a bit of effort in, it shows. There'll be people with different techniques, like using pure contrast, and I've seen some of those armies, and I'm like, they look cool. Like, nice, well done. You put some effort in. People, and they're probably their own worst critics. So they go, "It's only contrast," and I'm like, well, it looks cool, so well done.
It works.
Yeah, 100%.
I've done stuff that I've done some things where I think my Blue Horrors is a good example. That was like a 3 paint scheme, and I did it. And I'm like, oh, these aren't actually that bad. Didn't put a lot of effort into them, but they work and they look the part. Sometimes you have models that lend itself better to that though as well. That's another thing. Is sometimes the theme works. I think it's the same with things like Plague Bearers, and I think all the base demon stuff. You could probably get away with a good contrast base and then doing some bits of detail. Because a lot of them are very similar kind of colours and lend itself quite well to that contrast paint.
Yeah, I was looking at a technique in the recent White Dwarf magazine where you can add in like this. I don't know if shading's the right word, but they would spray it black, for instance, undercoat it black, and then put a really light white undercoat directly from the top
for that highlight kind of thing.
for like a shading that goes in, or straight away, and then they put contrast on top of that, and straight away you'd have that difference between the lighter and the darker. And I was like, that's quite cool.
Yeah, you see that a lot with airbrushing. I think that kind of directed highlight or shade, it works quite well if you've got the skills to do it. It's great.
Well, yeah, this was just with rattle cans.
Oh
so
yeah,
it wasn't-
exactly, precisely. It's a different thing, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
it works. It's just rules like old world 100%. Same for my friends. It is the one thing we agree on, but we are all greybeards who old world is aimed at. Fair enough. And again, we said this earlier. The target market is technically you guys. That's kind of what they're trying to get those people that maybe went, when the end times happened and went, oh, why am I playing this other thing? It's not what I wanted at all. Because it is a completely different game set. Yeah, AOS. You cannot compare AOS to the old Warhammer at all. There is no way you can. The play style is completely different. Even the layout of models is, because obviously AOS went much more down that kind of let's take the 40k system and bring it down to work in AOS in a similar way with certain phases that seem a little bit familiar but not nowhere near the same as what Warhammer, the actual game Warhammer Old World was, previously. So yeah, that's fine, and that's why I said they've probably done a good thing in bringing people back in that maybe felt like they've been left out in the cold for a while from that type of gaming system. I'm sure there's other game systems out there that try to emulate it, but I bet you a lot of people go back to it because, I mean, judging from what I've seen, those box sets sold like hotcakes. So
Yeah. We'll just have to wait and see, really, what kind of happens there with GW and how they're gonna keep pumping out stuff for Old World.
Corn Demons are stupid easy with contrast spray and black, dry brush astropath red, douse in flesh terrors, bit of bronze steel and done.
Yeah, Corn Demons are pretty straightforward to do, aren't they? Really.
Captain Jack has told us what that highlight you were talking about is.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so exactly. Yeah, I was tempted to give it a go, but I don't actually have any. Oh no, I do. I have got some white spray.
Oh, here we go. Try it on your Titan.
Yeah, give it a go. Yeah, that worked out for me. Hands out well. No, apparently it doesn't work very well.
Just Dom crying. Oh no, I've ruined it. So much time.
So much effort. God.
Right, I think I am probably done for tonight. I think.
Yes,
I've had a good little paint session, so there we go.
And hopefully you all have as well tonight. Hope you all had a nice time.
So, as usual, thank you all very much for joining us. If you haven't signed up to our Discord, there's a link. I'll put it in again, actually. I think I've got it still here, haven't I? Yep, there we go. Join our Discord. Come and say hello. Come and join in with other people in there. Good to have more people there. Join in with the painting competition, all that kind of jazz. It's always good.
Definitely.
And yeah, thank you all very much for watching. I have been Tom.
And I'm Dom.
And together we are Blacktoad Studio. It's been a pleasure talking to you all this evening. And we will see you all next week. Bye!
Bye-bye!